In this section, we're going to look at factoring x squared plus bx plus c. So basically, factoring x squared plus bx plus c, you have to factor a quadratic trinomial of the form x squared plus bx plus c. You have to find two integer factors of c whose sum is b. So we're going to give you an example of this. Let's say we have to factor x squared plus 9x plus 18. You want to start by making a list of factors of 18 whose sums is 9. So let's just look at some of the factors of 18. We know that 1 times 18 equals 18, so 1 and 18 are factors. But when we add 1 and 18 together, we get 19, so that's not what we're looking for. Now, we also have 2 and 9, because we know that 2 times 9 equals 18. But when we add 2 and 9, we get 11. And then there's 3 and 6, because 3 times 6 is 18. So, and 3 plus 6 is 9, so that is what we're looking for. So, in order to set this up, you create two parentheses, make the first term of each parentheses x, and now we're going to use the factors 3 and 6, so plus 3 plus 6, because those are two factors of 18, which is c, that add up to the value of b, which is 9. Now we're going to look at another example of this. This is factoring a trinomial. So we're going to look at x squared plus 6x plus 8. So start again by drawing your two parentheses. And you can go ahead and put an x at the front of both parentheses, because in the equation you can see that the statement starts off with an x squared, so there's got to be two x's. Now let's look at factors of c. Keep in mind we're looking of factors of c, which is 8, whose numbers sum up to 6. So let's look at factors of 8. We know that 1 and 8 are factors of 8, because 1 times 8 is 8. But when we add them, we get 9, and 9 is not what we're looking for. So other factors would be 2 and 4, because we know that 2 times 4 equals 8. And when we add 2 and 4, we get 6, so that works. So we can now plug in those factors into our parentheses, so it becomes plus 2 and plus 4. Now we're going to look at another example of this. Here we have x squared minus 10x plus 16. So again, because the equation starts with an x squared, we can go ahead and draw parentheses and put x's in the front. So again, we want to find factors of 16 that are going to add together and give us negative 10. But we can see that it's a negative 10. So the only way that we're going to be able to add numbers together and get negative 10 is if we're adding negative numbers. So if you keep in mind that if we have two negative numbers, when they multiply together, they're still a positive number. So we can use two negative factors, and it would still be factors of 16. So our first factors are going to be negative 1 and negative 16, because negative 1 times negative 16 still equals 16. And when we add them together, we get negative 17, which is not what we're looking for. So we're going to look at other factors. We have negative 2 and negative 8. When we multiply negative 2 times negative 8, we get positive 16, which is C. And when we add them together, we get negative 10, which would be B. So we know that works. So we can plug that into our equation. Negative 2 and negative 8. Now we can go ahead and simplify the parentheses a little bit and make it x minus 2 times x minus 8. Now we're going to look at an example of factoring x squared plus bx plus c when c is a negative number. So our example is going to be x squared plus 7x minus 18. So again, we want to do the same thing, and we want to find factors of c, which in this case would be negative 18, that add up to be the value of b, which in this case is positive 7. So keep in mind, because we're trying to find factors of a negative number, one of your factors has to be negative. So let's look at negative 1 and 18, because we know that negative 1 times 18 equals negative 18. The problem with negative 1 and 18 is that if we add them together, we end up getting 17, which is not the number we're looking for. Now let's look at some other factors. Negative 2 and 9. When we multiply negative 2 times 9, we get a negative 18, which is equal to c. And when we add negative 2 and 9, we get a positive 7. So those are the factors that we need. Now we can plug these factors back up into the parentheses. So we have x plus negative 2 and then x plus 9. We can go ahead and simplify it a little, make it parentheses x minus 2 times x plus 9. Now we're going to do another example of this when c is negative. We have x squared minus 5x minus 24. So again, let's start by drawing the two parentheses and putting x's at the front. Now we want to find the factors of c, which in this case are negative 24. Remember that because c is a negative number, one of the factors is going to be negative, one factor is going to be positive. So our first set of factors, let's look at 1 and negative 24. 1 times negative 24 equals negative 24, but when we add them together, we get negative 23, which does not equal negative 5. Now let's look at another set of factors, which would be 2 and negative 12. When we multiply 2 times negative 12, we get negative 24. But when we add them, we get negative 10. And we can see that negative 10 does not equal negative 5. Now, our final set of factors, we have 3 and negative 8. 3 times negative 8 equals negative 24. And when we add them together, we get negative 5. So we can see that this works. So we can plug these factors into our parentheses at the top. So we get x plus 3, and then x plus negative 8. We can go ahead and simplify that a little. X plus 3 times x minus 8. And if we want to check this equation, we can use FOIL and multiply the numbers back out in order to see how it generates that top equation of x squared minus 5x minus 24. So let's go ahead and do x times x, which is x squared. Then x times negative 8, which is negative 8x. Then we're going to do 3 times x, which is plus 3x. And then 3 times negative 8, which is negative 24. And if we go ahead and simplify the middle, we would end up with x squared minus 5x minus 24, which was our original equation.